and I am one of the events coordinator for the UWI Tourism Society. And tonight I'll be the host for episode 4 of our Let's Talk Tourism with the topic of Agritourism. Our guest speaker today is Mr. Tariq Ali. Good evening, Mr. Ali.
Hi, good evening. How are
How are
you?
you? I'm fine. How are you? Thanks
I'm
for
good.
asking.
I'm just so happy to be part of this. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
we're
just
happy
so
to have
exciting.
you here.
Yes, it's so exciting because, it's basically almost like meant to be. I mean, yeah, you get it because it's a mint plan there. Because you're talking about agriculture and tourism together. I mean, what else you could get better than this?
Yes. So before we get started, we have a few pictures. If you don't mind telling us more about it.
Sure, you go ahead. I would love to show everyone.
All right. Yes. So you want to tell us about this picture?
The one I'm in any field with?
Yeah.
Okay, so that one basically I'm in one of a farmer's pepper field. I'm actually diagnosing some worm. I'm actually looking at some worms and also looking at Phytophthora disease as well too.
Okay. And where was this farm?
This is actually in Maraval.
Okay, cool. And this seems interesting.
Yeah, I'm not seeing which one you pointing at right now, Vijaya.
Oh, it's the one with the it's look like it's in UE.
Yes, actually that was for Guildfest. Well, I was former faculty of food and agriculture rep, and this is where we were showcasing the faculty and giving out plants and showing chicks and different animals as well too.
Yeah, I'm seeing the chicks at the side.
Yes. And then you head down to the third one where you see the one with myself and a cow
Yeah.
actually. This was actually taken at Ekiaf, and this is just basically the livestock part of it. Being in agriculture, you would see about livestock and plants as well.
Yeah. Ooh, so here you have some lettuce.
Yes, this is actually harvested at the UE farm. So this is where we did some intercropping between scythe and lettuce on the farm. So you see how big they grew. It was really, really nice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they look healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And we have this one with some other plants. I'm not sure what kind of plants it is.
I'm not seeing which one it is.
Um, it's the one with you in a field. It's have like about 4 or 5 beds of plants, and you're standing in the middle.
Oh, that's cabbage. This was actually taken in St. Vincent. So, being part as part of the tourism society there, we I did travel to a lot of different islands and stuff like that and learn the agricultural practices and stuff there. So, going there and seeing meeting so many different people and looking at agricultural practices is really, really amazing. So just a picture that's showing, one of the fields that was taken, cabbage field that was taken in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Oh, well, it looks really nice and clean, like how the bed was just created.
Thank you so much. Because of the volcanic soil, it's they have a really, really, really amazing agricultural sector there.
Yeah. And then we have this little one. I guess you're planting a little plant here.
Yes, that too was taken in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. This was actually by the Plant Propagation Center. So this they were doing tissue culture and they were propagating plants for the public as well too there.
Okay.
This is actually a
What
tomato plant.
what kind of plant was that?
That's a tomato plant actually.
Okay. And we have this. It looks like bees.
Yes. So this was actually taken at IKEA, where I studied, and this is actually a honeycomb flipped upside down. So I'm holding it, and it's covered my head, but you can basically see how it's shaped and how everything is like inside a honeycomb, really.
Wow. That probably was an amazing experience.
Yes, it was, and I mean the reason why I picked these pictures, it's going to be taking us through into agritourism and showing how these two sectors, which agriculture and tourism, how important they are in Trinidad, especially looking at our geographic, I mean, location.
Yeah. Okay, so We have a little game before we get started that Satish would do.
Mm-hmm.
Satish, you there?
Yeah, I'm just loading the slides now, so it should be up shortly.
Yeah.
While we wait, so Tariq, I know you said you're doing agri-science, right? I think of last week you'd have been a graduate now, so you finished your MSc in crop protection, right?
Yes. So I did my undergrad in agriculture at UWI, and I specialized in crop science, and then I moved on to do my master's in 2017 in tropical crop protection. I specialize in plant pathology and virology, and as of last week, I am now a graduate of the University of the West Indies. I'm
How
just
does
so
it
happy.
feel?
It is just really amazing, really, really amazing experience. I mean,
All right.
probably not the best during quarantine, but we had to make the best of it.
Yeah, exactly. So, because you're a fresh graduate, we have a few questions, agri-based questions. So, I hope you revise your foundation courses. And for everyone that listening on as well, we have Bridget, Stian, Solomon. I know you're Solomon. You can answer in the comments, right? So if you don't know the answers, put in the comments. So the first question, or it's not questions, it's more pictures, right? So the first game we're looking at is guess the crop. Okay.
Mhm.
You can see the screen, right?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So before I tell you which plant we're talking about, could you probably identify the crop plant we're looking at more or less?
I'm seeing pineapple, and I'm also seeing, is that Sahara leaf?
I was thinking the same thing, right? But no, but in terms of the crop, it is pineapple. But I think it looks like Sahara leaf, right?
I think
Anyone?
it would be family to the Sahara leaf, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so you got that one right. Sorry, I mean pineapple. Now it's a little bit difficult.
Which one? This one?
Yeah, this one.
That's cassava.
How could you even tell though?
Esculent
That's
and
a
money hot.
skill.
Yes, is this how we just say it like instantly? Oh yeah, that's cassava, you know? That's crazy. Okay.
Esculent and money hot. More specifically, looking like the butter cassava as well too.
What? Okay. All right, but clearly you know your stuff, right? And again, you all feel free to give your answers in the comments, right? So if you don't know what this is,
Uh-huh.
you know, Trinidadians, your card get rejected one time, yeah?
Mhm.
You must know what it's a little piece of the image, but you must know what it is.
So I'm actually seeing a Cheryl there, and let me point out to where the Cheryl. So you see next to the big fruit, the big yellow fruit, which is
Right?
Theobroma cacao. That's the scientific name of it. There's a small little flower pod next to it.
Right.
Right. That's actually known as a Cheryl. So small cocoa that before they have ripened and they are really really small, they're actually known as a Cheryl on the plant.
Cheryl. Okay. Okay,
So
that sounds cool.
yes.
Um,
So
so we have
it's
what? Yeah,
mhm.
sorry, go ahead.
It's a cocoa plant. I mean, yeah.
All right. So we have one more crop, right? But I'm going to choose someone from the list of participants to answer, right? So
Mhm.
I am going to call on Solomon. Solomon, you there? It's an easy one, Solomon. Do you want to answer, man? All right. I won't pick on Solomon. What about Rajesh? Rajesh, you there? It's a very easy one, guys.
That is sugarcane.
What?
Is it?
How you even know what it is? I didn't even show the image. How is it even possible though? Like he legit guessed the image, the picture. I don't even understand.
I could scroll through the presentation. I think.
Oh, how is that even possible? Okay,
I don't
all
know.
right. I guess I don't know. All right. Okay, that's interesting that he could have done that, but okay. So yes, it is sugarcane. Now we have the second batch of games, right? So now we're looking at, yeah, that's amazing that he can actually scroll and remove stuff though.
And I can't even do that.
Yeah, that was I didn't even know how you can do that. He legit removed my entire slide. Okay, so we're back again. It's presenting. Okay, so it's a little low in a while. So yeah, so those are some popular crops we have in Trinidad. Especially the cocoa and one sugarcane. That was two of the major crops at one point in time in Trinidad. All right, we're back in business. Let me go back down to. So Tariq, what is one of the major crops right now in Trinidad?
Actually, one of the major crops in Trinidad, we have mini peppers. We also have things like tomatoes. We don't have like a one particular crop that really stands out to us, that is developed. Because I mean, if we look at crops that kind of stands out, that is unique to us, in a sense, then in terms of like varieties, we talk about things like cocoa and stuff like that. But yeah, talk about what is developed and how much we're exporting and stuff like that. But we don't have like a particular crop that we could basically say that, say for example like Guyana, basically sugarcane and rice that comes to mind there. So like in Trinidad, I would basically say safe would be peppers, tomatoes for us.
Yeah, definitely. So we have a second batch of games now, right? This one is a little bit more difficult. It looks at concepts and probably a little bit of definitions, right? So the first one is, what is local produce? A lot of the time you hear the term local produce. What is local produce?
Mm-hmm.
You have four options.
You're gonna rate out, or you want me just pick it?
Well, okay. Food that is made within 200 kilometers of where you live. B, food from a different country. C, food from the region. And well, D, I do not know.
It's actually A, so it's food that is made within 200 kilometers of where you live.
And yes, and that is correct. So, all right. So the second question looks at, let me just try the chat to see if anyone comments anything. Okay, no, not yet. Remember, you all can leave the comments in the chat with whichever answer you all think is the answer, right? So what does cultivate suggest? To grow, to care for, to make money, to harvest?
It's really to grow, actually.
Well, that's kind of contrary.
I mean, you could say it's a care for in a sense there, but like if you say that you're gonna cultivate probably a livestock as well, so I mean you're growing livestock as well. So
right.
Kind of
Well, I mean, okay, because you said care as well. So what we have is to care for, but I would take to grow as well because I mean it is kind of similar.
Yeah.
Now monoculture. What is monoculture?
Farm a different plant and use only one type of D. Farms with only one type of growing crop system.
Okay, let me just check the answer real quick.
Satish is mono. Mono means one, and culture means well.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, fine. All right, and our final question, I'm gonna ask somebody else again in the group.
Yeah.
Should I ask somebody? No, I shouldn't ask somebody else. I think this is a hard question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Which of the following farm practices have been used by farmers only in recent years, right? So let me see if Bridget would want to take a try. Bridget, you want to take a try? A rough guess?
I have no idea. B.
Okay, we will take that answer. Sorry, Ariana.
None of the above.
You see, Ariana, you're a farmer. You know this answer.
Yeah.
I shouldn't ask you this answer. Tariq, you want to confirm the answer? Which one is the answer? It's
actually D, because what happened is that the fertilization, irrigation, and pest control has been around since the beginning of agriculture. So it's just the different techniques that have changed over the period of time. So it's definitely D.
Right, exactly. So that's it for me and my little short game session. So now it's back to Vijaya, who will continue the discussion on agrotourism. So I will see you in probably the end of the session, right? So you all take care. Bye.
You as well, Satish.
Right. So before we start the conversation, I just wanted to ask you a question. Now, I would have had persons question my degree, and because tourism and agriculture sector is too underdeveloped sector, would you have ever experienced somebody questioning your degree?
Yes, actually, I've had this a lot. A lot of persons has questioned, why did he go to school to study agriculture? But then you need to understand, there are so many different techniques that are changing, and basically the world is changing as well too. And agriculture on the whole is changing. So you definitely need that study of that science, especially say in my area, for example, of pest control. Pest is always changing, and you need to know different techniques and new ways how to control them. Yeah. So I understand where you're coming from. Why you need to go to school to study tourism? I understand that. And I'm
Right.
just happy that we are finally bringing these two together and bringing it as one. Especially seeing that these two have been underdeveloped for many years now. Yeah.
Right. So now that we could see your passion for agriculture, we would like to hear more about agrotourism.
Mhm.
So,
So I'm just basically going to tell you like what is agritourism firstly, and then delve into you know some ways in terms of how we could basically mesh the two together. Because when I think of both of them, it's basically two different areas. And they have some similarities, but it's way different at times there. Now, agritourism, if you're looking at it, is basically any agricultural based operation that brings like people together and brings foreign exchange to person. So that's basically what my interpretation of what agrotourism is like there. And when you speak about agrotourism, there are different things that comes to my mind because there are different ways you could go down with this sector, combining in one here. And I think you as a tourism student, you would be focused a lot in terms of um, how would you bring people together, how do we earn foreign exchange, all these things do go through in terms of like what you study there,
yeah.
if I'm not wrong. And then my area of study is basically the production and also reaching out to farmers. And one thing I'm looking at here in terms of the first thing that kind of clicks into my mind with agritourism is basically bringing together that there, especially something say a U-pick farm. And I'm not sure if you're familiar or any of the listeners are familiar with the U-pick farms in Chagaramas there.
Yes, I'm familiar with it.
What do you know about it?
Well, I know that you could go there and you would be able to pick your own goods and then, have a restaurant cook it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would have visited it probably once while going to UWI.
Mhm.
I didn't know about it, and when I went, I find it very fascinating because I never went. I never had that experience of going and actually picking my own goods, right? I mean, it's like the normal, you just go and you buy your goods, but here now you just go, you pick your goods and then you buy it. You
Yes,
pick
yes.
it. So it was a nice experience.
I'm really happy to hear that because a lot of persons they don't know exactly where the food come from. They think they're just going to go
Yeah.
straight pick up their food and that's it there. But bringing together persons and showing them how crops are grown, show them how livestock are grown as well. So they would be more intrigued and they would be so more excited to be like, well, I want to buy this, I want to buy that, and I want to grow my own food as well too. So I think definitely this is a really good approach in terms of bringing people together and combining these two sectors, these two underdeveloped sectors, together. Another area I'm going to touch on is actually downstream industries. Now, when you speak about downstream industries, um, in the agricultural sector, everyone talks about the raw products. So, say for example, the sugarcane industry, we just talk about okay, making sugar and that's it there. But there's so many other products you can make from sugarcane, things like molasses, things like rum, candy, all these different type of things as well. And when we talk about the downstream industries, talking about like other products that can be made from these products there, the raw products. I mean, and if you go to say places like the green market or other places throughout Trinidad that sells like novelty items that are made from our local producer, that's actually a great opportunity to combine a lot of tourism together in the agriculture sector and support each sector together. So you're talking about things like jams, jellies, and little handcrafts and stuff, things like you know, this is, for example, this is what I made home here. This is actually a bamboo I cut. I made a pencil holder out of it. So,
Yeah,
simple things like these here, it can actually encourage persons into the downstream industries, and this would actually create a lot of employment as well as, bring persons together in the tourism industry.
So, now technology does play a big role in every sector, right? And like everything else, it have its downside and upside. So how does that make it easy? Does technology make your work easier?
Actually, yes, it does. It makes it more intriguing as well too. What happens, say for example, say for rice production, you have to go through the threshing, manual threshing and stuff like that, and harvesting. Things like the combine harvester and use of like, certain other technologies in the field as well. So it makes it much easier for not only growing your crops but harvesting as well as protecting your crops as well. Definitely, definitely. Last year, I think Satish want to ask something there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I know we talk about like merging the two of them together, right? So I think we should probably explain a bit more like how that can even happen. So for Vijaya, we have something called experiential tourism, right? Basically, that is where the guests wants more than just staying at a hotel or resort. These type of guests are very they prefer to be outdoors. They want to see where their food growing, as you mentioned, Tariq, that a lot of the times people want to see where their food come from. And we have guests like that. Not all of them. It's a very niche market that actually want to see, what cocoa looks like before it becomes chocolate. So I think a good area to actually start looking at agrotourism is actually understanding, well, as a destination, we have to see, how we could differentiate ourselves from other Caribbean islands because, tourism now is changing. We are more than just sun, and sea. We have to find ways to diversify our industry. And one area is the experiential tourism, meaning we want to offer tourists an experience where they can now, pick the tomatoes, they can go get them eggs, what else? They can, pick their cocoa and then have it turned into chocolate. That's the kind of atmosphere we're looking at when it comes to agrotourism. And for everyone here who's a little bit confused about the topic, it's more or less just, trying to get the tourists involved, more or less, involved in the preparation and the processing of food. And I think Ariana have a hand up, so she can probably take Ariana's question as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, going off of the same experiential tourism topic, I have been really interested in looking at the relationship between cocoa and the tourism industry. It's become quite popular lately for a lot of people to go into the cocoa estates and create chocolate. And what's your opinion on that, Tariq? What do you think we could work out from that? How we could work from there?
I think definitely it's a great industry because I was actually coming to that because cocoa, it's we have the fine flavored cocoa in Trinidad, which actually no very few parts of the world has, and they use our cocoa to basically flavor other chocolates around the world. And as you said, my opinion in terms of how we could develop it, is actually getting more persons on board with it. Because, yeah, we could talk about government funding and stuff as well, but, we need to take it upon ourselves, even in the private sector, to actually help get persons excited about it. Because, the mindset still is there among a lot of the older generation. They think that, agriculture is still, hard work and back-breaking work there. So it's still a lot of work just to get persons change their mindset, basically. I was actually coming to the cocoa part of it where we were talking about, where have some private businesses, they offer an entire experience, from harvesting the cocoa to dancing the cocoa, etc., and then making chocolate as well too in their estates.
Yeah, and also, yeah, that's actually pretty interesting with the where they offer to show the process I saw a lot of people actually becoming more interested in it. And another question I want to ask about is, since marijuana has become legalized, I've seen some companies selling CBD chocolates. And
Yeah.
I'm not too sure if they infuse in anything yet, but that market is certainly something we could explore.
Um, Definitely, I think definitely, it can create a lot of opportunities there, for growth. And although it's not legalized, it's decriminalized. A lot
Decriminalized,
of
sorry.
it's fine, it's fine. I didn't mean it in a bad way there. Um, I think definitely a lot more paperwork needs to be put in place in terms of, what can be done with it and what cannot be done. You understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
Yeah. I see Bridget want to ask something or make a comment.
Hi, yeah, I was just wondering because I've heard like people say on the news and stuff that our tourism sector coming out of COVID-19, it would only be like those countries that had established already a tourism like a good healthy tourism sector before. But coming out of COVID-19, the agritourism sector, how do you all think that we could attract more persons and make the job easier too? Because I think unmanned aerial vehicles, as you all said before, and those technologies would be beneficial and make the life in agritourism easier. So yeah, I just wanted to, what moving forward, what's the future of it like?
I think that it has a good feature in it because I'm not sure if all of you all have realized since COVID-19 started, I mean, the lockdown has started, right? You realize that a lot of persons have went into their own backyard farming and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Other persons have decided,
Yeah.
oh, well, I'm going to plant my own plants. I'm going to be my own farmer and stuff like that. So I think it did work out in a sense for the agriculture industry, but it had a drop in the tourism industry. If you look at, from traveling, etc. But if you're talking about agritourism here, I think it has a great opportunity for, although it may not have persons coming in because borders closed and whatever have it, but we go with that phrase as the tourism ministry always say, stay to get away.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically. So I think moving forward from here is just looking at how we could develop certain industries that would attract our local people and get them more excited about agriculture, as well as for them to spend their money and enjoy the benefits and the beauty of Trinidad and Tobago.
Thank you.
Also, Bridget, to talk a little more about the tourism industry. You see, when this pandemic, it's over, or tourism starts picking back up, tourists will be out looking for more experiences, and ecotourism and any sector falling under sustainable tourism has started to pick up with the movement of people who want greener and more climate friendly tourism. So, even though they say more developed tourism products would be more attractive, I still think that if you focus on marketing yourself properly, that there's potential for us in the market, new products in the market.
Definitely. By chance, I just want to ask you a question. Have you ever heard about the Mango Festival in Trinidad?
I never heard of it.
No, I'm also asking any of the viewers as well.
Yeah.
Yes, Satish.
I never heard of it.
Oh my god. Yes, Satish, we were listening. Okay, I think Satish.
No, sorry, that was an error. That was an error. Sorry.
Okay. There was another part I was actually going to touch on, is actually on the food part of it there. So in Trinidad, we do have this different festivals throughout the year that highlights our local fruits. There's something called the Mango Festival, and it happens sometime during the middle of the year, sometime around May, June, around there. And basically what they do here is that it showcases all the different varieties Trinidad and Tobago has, and it shows some of the products that can be made from mangoes in Trinidad here. And we also have things like breadfruit festivals, and we also have ground provision festival. Now, when I mean the Grand Provision Festival isn't like that big one time, but it actually showcase like our different root crops and stuff, and it shows like what we could do with it, especially talking about flowers. When I mean like flower to cook at, not like just flower. Yeah, so this is actually another area we could talk about when you talk about agritourism there, because a lot of persons who come in, or a lot of persons in Trinidad, they not familiar with some even of our local fruits or some of the varieties we have, and some of the fruits that we need to explore, some of the options as well too. So it provides a really good opportunity for that agritourism part of it there.
Now, one major part of our problem of being underdeveloped industries is the lack of government fundings. Can we have your view on that?
Yes, I think definitely on both sides of it, on the agriculture sector and the tourism sector, each year after year, I think, all the young persons have been saying, we need to diversify, and diversification. I used to always come at the same bracket, but we never really see anything happen every year after year. And, definitely, the uh, government has a big part to play in terms of development of these sectors, in terms of bringing persons together, because it's not only the private sector could do that by themselves there, but you also need that funding, you also need that push, and you need that energy, you need that that innovation, and you need that passion as well. So it's not just pumping that money alone, but you need that passion to bring forward people in terms of getting things done as well. Yeah.
Now, so as a person, studying and working in the agriculture industry, what is a potential way that we could restart tourism or agritourism in Trinidad?
Well, one way we could restart back agritourism is actually looking back in terms of our roots. When I mean roots, is actually looking at what we are more well known for in Trinidad. So yeah, we could talk about we going into the ecotourism. We're talking about planting special type of crops like a dragon fruit, whatever I have it. But you need to go back to your roots in terms of what we are really known for. So things like cocoa, and the reason why I picked cocoa for the first thing is that Trinidad is basically the epicenter of the Cocoa Research Center,
Yeah.
and the center is actually located in UWI there. And for many of you all, cocoa, we have more than 2,000 varieties in Trinidad, and which is really, really amazing, because the rest of the world actually use us, as research, use our genetics for on the cocoa for different in different ways. I mean, for only boosting their industry as well as pest resistance, etc. And other industries, you're looking at things like citrus, you're looking at I'm not sure if you're familiar with the scorpion pepper, which was developed in Trinidad, and the Muruga scorpion pepper, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're looking at that to market it, to make sure that this actually attract a lot of persons. So bringing innovative ways and bringing a passion, it actually going to bring persons together. And also, I'm not sure if you're familiar. I'm seeing you, Satish, with the buffalo.
No.
Okay, so basically the buffalo, so it's actually a crossbred between 5 different animals. It was created by Dr. Stephen Bennett, Trinidadian, Trinbagonian, I mean, and it's actually indigenous to Trinidad and Tobago. So looking at what we are well known for in the international stage, I think we need to start back there and then work our ways up. There are different ways in terms of like your family market, your upstream, your downstream industries, your upstream industries, etc. But I think we need to start back from our roots there to start to develop it.
So, Satish, you have a question?
Well, I want to add something to what Tariq just said, right? So, Tariq, I know we talk about, trying to like expand on what we already have in Trinidad, try to develop a couple of the crops that we kind of like known for, right? But something that I actually found in some research I was doing, is that okay? So while we do have the crops, we have the, the high quality cocoa beans, we have all those good things. When it comes to, let's just say we want to sell an international market, right? Which is moving very far from, not necessarily moving very far, but it's kind of moving away from agritourism, in the sense that we are now looking at probably like increasing exports. We want to try to like big up. Let's look at, we're looking at cocoa beans, right? We want to like have a Trinidad cocoa bean cocoa bean where everyone will want it, right? I think one of the major problems we face is the packaging and the processing of these things. We don't really necessarily have the proper facilities to package these things. And also adding, I remember in one of my undergrad classes, we were talking about locals and the idea of many of the international hotels locally, they purchase those simple little jams, or like your toast bread and stuff like that. They import these things. And Trinidad have really good tasting jams. We have guava, pineapple, we have a wide range of jams. And I remember someone was starting that business, and because they didn't have the proper facility to actually, package these individual small containers, they couldn't do it. And I can only imagine that, simple things like that is kind of making farmers now have a hard time, trying to, get their products out to the international market.
Yeah. Definitely. I think, when I spoke just now about the government side of it there in terms of, they doing their part. When it comes to the agriculture industry, there are many incentives that the government do provide, which is really amazing. When it comes to the production side of it, but there isn't enough in terms of the processing, the harvesting and processing side of it there. So yes, I'm sure that you all are familiar. If you all go market, there are certain times of the year that there may be a flood of certain crops, say like tomatoes or peppers. They're really, really cheap, and then suddenly this goes up really expensive there.
Yeah.
And a lot of farmers, when their crops, especially say like tomatoes, peppers, whatever you have it, the price drop really bad. They don't know what to do with it there, and basically there isn't enough incentives in place to actually encourage a lot of farmers to go into the processing part of it. So simple things like, using the tomatoes, which would have probably sold say for $1 a pound, instead of $5 a pound, they could have used that during that time to probably make like a packaged tomato choke or something like that and sell it towards the international market. Also with that there, selling our products, selling our products to the international market to earn foreign exchange. We also have a little game where the farmers have to compete with the international brands here. So say for example tilapia, a lot of farmers, they would feel discouraged in terms of producing certain crops, so probably like say tilapia in particular there, where other countries, they could basically produce it at a far cheaper price, the economies of scale there, per unit, than our local farmers here. And basically, that could mess a lot with the trade agreements and stuff if you decide to put in like, higher taxes or tariffs and stuff like that on these products coming in. And even if the government decides to do that in terms of putting in certain taxes or certain tariffs on these items, from coming in, that it will give our local producers a chance. You need to put policies in place for certain farmers and certain persons not to create a monopoly of these certain items as well. So say example for tomatoes, there isn't a one particular person controlling the demand and supply and controlling the price, or basically price makers of these certain products.
Tariq, I have a question. So how larger hotels and we have B&Bs and all those other guest houses and everything associated with tourism accommodation, right?
Yeah.
Would it be beneficial to farmers if they created a supply chain where the farmers supply the hotels and accommodation with the necessary food items they need? Would a fixed price be a bad thing or a good thing?
I think definitely it will be a good thing, because what happens is that it not only gives like these certain places one price throughout the year, which should be constant there, but this need to be controlled through different organizations, through probably government influences there. Because say for example, you don't want say X amount of farmers, say probably 100 farmers producing so many tomatoes, and then it flood the market and all the prices go down there. You need to have a certain price where it kind of maintains throughout the year. And you understand where I'm coming from there, because that's where we're going with it. And this way you need to put policies and stuff in place to actually maintain these prices. So say for example, you would go to the supermarket and the price of canned mushrooms or canned tomatoes remains the same price throughout the year. You really this is what I know you are heading for, but I think definitely it's gonna be a good thing. Where farmers gonna have a constant income. They're not gonna be worrying about, well, the price drops, so I'm gonna lose income, or the price really high, so I'm gonna get not too much of money, but a lot more money than what I would have gotten at a certain time of the year there. So definitely it would be a good thing, but policies need to be put in place for these things to happen.
So, can you tell us about a time that you would have experienced agritourism and where?
There are many times where I did experience agritourism. Simple things like going to the green market, simple things like going up market there to see some of the value-added products, and even visiting a lot of different farms as well too. Even visiting, as we spoke about earlier, the U-pick farms, where I did visit, and we got to pick a different type of crops. I got to pick like corn and tomatoes, and pick some peppers, sweet peppers and hot peppers, and it was really amazing experience. And also even visiting the cocoa industry, looking at to see from start to finish what they do. It had so many experiences I had dealing with agritourism. I think definitely through a bit more innovation, a bit more passion we could put into it. Sorry, I didn't have my passion fruit, but yeah, I was pretty passionate in it. It would make a huge difference in it.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. I mean, there was one time I went to a cocoa estate in Vancouver. That was back then when I was in secondary school, and that was really amazing because, I mean, yes, I grew up in Trinidad, but I never had a cocoa until that day. Because, I didn't really, I mean, I wasn't a fan of it really until when I actually got to taste, and it was really sweet, and it wasn't what I expected.
Which one you tasted? You tasted the chocolate bar after they made it, or did you taste?
No. The seed itself, like it had like a little pod. They cracked it open.
Yes.
The seed was dried.
Okay, I understand where you're coming from. The jelly, the white
yeah,
around it. Yeah, okay, yeah, that is sweet, because I was thinking about like when it's fermented. I'm seeing you, Ariana. When it's fermented, it becomes really bitter because of the acetic acid and stuff like that. All the chemical processes, and it does. So I was like, okay then. Did you get to Nancy Coco though?
No.
Okay.
We just went for a quick tour, just to see the process, and that was it. But I guess the main part about it was that we actually got to see the cocoa field and had that experience of actually cracking open the cocoa. I mean, it was quite a challenge, but I mean...
You have to actually take the back of the cutlass and knock it, and it will crack open. There.
Yeah, well, they didn't have us with any cutlass or anything. We was just cracking it on a stone or rock, and I mean, secondary school, they wouldn't allow us with anything.
True. I agree. I'm seeing Ariana hand up.
Yes.
But yeah, Tariq, I just had one other question. With regard to the cocoa industry, I think I saw a company that exports the beans. I can't remember the name of the company, but they have a lot of customers. I think I went on their page as well, and they were exporting to different areas in the Caribbean, different areas in Europe as well. What's your opinion on that increasing the popularity of agritourism and agriculture on a whole?
I think it would, but I have a disagreement to that in that sense there, because it's like, okay, we sell. This is back in 2013 when I visited the cocoa. I think it was the same business firm I'm not talking about there, where they was exporting the cocoa beans and stuff like that, with a selling like 20 US a kilogram per cocoa bean, for the cocoa beans I mean. And what happened is that we exported at that price, and then after, international companies, things like Calvary, whatever you have it there, they would use these cocoa beans there and flavor so many different chocolates, and then sell us back those chocolates there at a much more expensive price. So, although it would be good for um, getting our name out there, which is already there, but I think definitely, it would be better for us to be making our own chocolate bars, which we have, but it has not been that significantly done, because you do see a few persons in and between do selling their chocolate bars and making chocolate in Trinidad. But I think it would be much better if we could just you know make that value-added product, because I think for you all and a lot of tourism students, um, looking at how certain countries, they produce the raw material, say like coffee, and then when they send it to different companies and stuff like that, how much money these certain companies would make, a bargain, where the farmers would make almost little to nothing out of it.
So you think it all boils down to regulation and policy making in both industries?
Yes, definitely. And I mean, it's not only just talking about the policies um, and making the laws and stuff like that there. Well, I mean, not really laws, but policies in particular there. But bringing forward that passion and bringing forward that innovation in the both industries to pull them together there. This is what we really need to push forward in this country.
Understandable. I just have one more question left for Jay. Sorry.
No, it's fine. Go ahead. We love to hear.
Yeah.
But okay, so I want to question you about bamboo. I assume you know a thing or two about bamboo. See, you made your little bamboo craft stand there.
Yes.
So bamboo could be very sustainable for the tourism industry. I think you should know that. Yeah.
Yes.
What is your opinion on the harvesting and growing of bamboo to create a supply chain for different products, and which could be marketed locally or internationally?
This was actually sorry, continue.
Yeah, do you think it's feasible? Do you think that it should be implemented?
Definitely. I had an idea this probably about a year ago, in terms of, now cutting off bamboo is illegal in Trinidad, right? And you need to get a license from Forestry Division to cut any bamboo in Trinidad. So yeah, I know a lot of persons don't know about that there. You actually need a license from them to cut whatever bamboo it is there, because bamboo, it mainly grows by rivers and streams and stuff like that, and it helps in terms of erosion and cleaning the water, whatever you have it. But in terms of that, I was actually going to approach Forestry Division and ask them, what can someone do if they want to grow their own bamboo patch, because it's one of the fastest growing grass out there, and create products out of it, because I mean it is sustainable. You could do so many things with bamboos beside, basically making a pencil holder out of it. There's so many things you could do out of it. I mean, looking at it from I was look at a lot of videos from Japan and China to see some of the amazing things they do with bamboo. I think definitely that is an untapped field of opportunity that we have there, that's lying around doing nothing right now.
I mean, even right here in Trinidad, we have some people who uses the bamboos as fence. I mean, it's not the bamboo that grows tall and big; it's the little ones. And
you mean like these, the Chinese bamboo?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the Chinese bamboo.
Yeah. So that was something I didn't even know it had different types of bamboo. I just thought,
No, it's really sustainable, because it's not only, you could not only make products out of it as well too, but you can create food out of it as well, because you have the bamboo shoots. It is edible, and it has so many things. I mean, you can use it as animal feed. One part of my thesis, I'm going to share with you all. When I did my thesis for my master's, I actually grew mushrooms, tropical mushrooms, and I actually used bamboo leaves, and bamboo leaves is actually the plant that gave me the most amount of mushrooms, other than rice paddy. So
yeah.
I could have shown you, how the mushrooms and stuff look, but I don't have any in production right now.
Oh, I mean, that would have been cool to see. Satish,
I'm sorry?
Satish,
I think I missed your post. bamboo.
Sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
I think I missed your whole opinion on bamboo because I fell off.
I'm so sorry. I was just speaking about that bamboo has so many opportunities out there, and I was saying that in terms of cutting bamboo, I'm not sure if you're familiar that you need a license to actually cut bamboo in Trinidad, and it's actually legal if you just go and cut bamboo just so. Um, I was telling Vijaya and everyone else that um, last year I was actually thinking about approaching forestry division and asking them um, what like what regulations or what can I put in place that I could grow my own bamboo patch and then create products out of it, because it's not only creating so many different products like how Japan and China utilize bamboo, because I'm sure that all of us have seen how they utilize this in so many different ways, but also creating edible stuff from it, because you could eat things like the bamboo shoots, and it could use the bamboo leaves and stuff like that for animal feed. It could use it for mulching. It could use it for like what I did for my thesis, which was growing mushrooms.
Oh, nice. You grow mushrooms?
Yeah, well, I don't have any in production right now. Otherwise, I'd have shown you how it looks like. But I actually have a bottle of spawn in the fridge right now.
Yeah, I actually considered growing them as well.
Yeah,
But
I mean, that's another area which you could look for the agritourism, which is mushroom production.
yeah, and wild mushrooms are quite popular in Europe, but those are like, well, out in the forest. There's a huge market in Europe for that, but we wouldn't be growing those types of mushrooms.
I mean, I have worked with mushrooms more than well, you know what? I'll say 2 years now. Close into 2 years I've worked with mushrooms, and it's even hard for me to identify the edible species moving into the forested areas. So like I may recognize probably one or two, but then the rest of them I'm not sure. It's like don't eat it if you're unsure about it.
Yeah, but I was really thinking about doing like at least some research into the bamboo industry in Trinidad and Tobago, because I spoke recently to, I think it was one of the ex directors in the International Bamboo and Rattan Agency in China. He used to spearhead it, and he would speak about bamboo for sustainable tourism. And I mean, I think you're familiar with all the benefits of bamboo in terms of carbon offsetting, and they grow like 100 times faster than trees, and
yeah, I mean, it's one of the fastest growing grass out there, so definitely.
So I think it's really important for the industry to recognize that these types of agriculture and tourism are really closely intertwined, and I think they both rely on each other. So
yes. One advice moving forward in terms of your idea is that approach, like if you want to use bamboo once in a while, and you want to create this as a business and stuff like that moving forward in the future, that you want to create these different products, you want to create food out of it as well too, because there's so many different things you could do with it. Approach forestry division and ask them what is the procedures with it, because I haven't, well, I really don't know offhand what are the procedures in terms of like harvesting a large amount of bamboos or probably growing your own bamboo farm in that sense there.
Okay, so that was really interesting. And see Satish's hands was up for quite a while. Satish, you have a question?
Yes, so I know we kind of close to the time limit, right? But Tariq, I know as you mentioned, a lot of persons, because of the whole quarantine, they started their kitchen gardens. And I know people like to ask you how long crops take to grow, right? But that's not my question. No, that's not my question. So my question is, maybe in less than a minute, could you give us maybe like 5 suggestions for the average, home gardener? Any 5 suggestions that you think could benefit a person at home, in their kitchen garden? Like it could be very general, in any area. Just 5 general stuff. Thanks.
Definitely. Thanks, Satish. 5 general stuff I would talk about would be 1, composting. So all the kitchen scraps and stuff like that, like you decide to throw away and stuff like that, compost it. if you'll need help in composting, I'm always there for that. Secondly, what can I say in terms of the home gardening part of it there? Pick short-term crops. Like if you could go ahead with long-term crops, you could go ahead with perennials, things like citrus and mango and stuff like that. But if you want to go into home garden things, pick your leafy crops, pick your tomatoes, pick your lettuce, whatever you have it there. Thirdly, be very mindful of your pests and diseases. So do your research and look at what pests is specific to what crop, what disease is specific to what crop as well too. And there are many homemade remedies that you can make in terms of managing, your crops and seeing how fast they could grow. Fourth, look at how long they would take to bear, as well as how long they would take to reach maturity. Because some plants, say like things like lettuce, they after 6 weeks you need to harvest them. It's not like you're waiting for them to fruit or something like that there, because basically they're going to be bolting in terms of looking like a Christmas tree and shooting flowers after. And then the last one I would say is that look on a sustainable farming, because not everything is chemical. You are trying to create a healthy environment for not only the plants but also and the environment and for the microorganisms, but also your family as well. Remember, these are crops and these are livestock that you are feeding your own family. So be very mindful in terms of what you treat your plants with and what you give your animals as well with. So that's basically my 5 advice going forward.
Well, thanks for that. I mean, I hope everybody take that advice, and we could see some upcoming kitchen farmers, and to get the minister's attention is quite a challenge for both you and I, especially in the industry that we are. And as we're trying to merge the two together, I could write up something and send it to the minister, and they would just leave it just so. So how could we attract persons to come to the farm, to visit a farm? What can we do?
You don't need the minister to be like, oh, welcome to this farm or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think it's I'll just say proper marketing and getting your niche market involved there, because just like election, not everyone is interested in terms of voting. And I mean, when it comes to your farm as well, you need to know like what group of people that would be interested in buying your products there. So if you start on like things like scrubs and whatever, you have like a lot of beauty products, you have a lot of women, you do have a lot of men as well too interested in a lot of beauty products there. But know your market in terms of like what age group, which gender, etc., you're working with there.
Okay, so I would have learned quite a lot from this topic. It was really nice having you here. Do you all have any questions or any more questions?
And before we end there, I'll just say that I'll be doing some agri videos coming up in the next few weeks. So like I've done some on crop protection already in terms of like how to manage these pests and diseases in your crops. And then I'm going to be moving into smaller crops, things like lettuce, tomatoes, pak choy, how to grow these things at home and how to grow them sustainably as well, so without us using pesticide as the last form of control of certain insects and stuff.
How can we get access to these videos?
Well, it's going to be on my page, and I'm going to make it public as well too. And hopefully soon I'm going to try to make a YouTube channel and get this on board, where a lot of persons, they could access, because there are a lot of videos how to grow your crops and stuff like that. But there are different measures and different practices that can be done in Trinidad and that are specific to our region.
Okay, so I will definitely be looking out for those videos.
Thank you so much.
It was nice having you here. If we don't have any more questions, I think that would be it for us.
And thank you so much for having me.
It was very informative.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And you could reach out to me anytime you want, okay?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. If you need any agri advice, I'm here. That's just my message. Send me a picture of your plant if it's dying. Okay, don't do like something and wait until like it died, like it dead and like it down to the ground.
And gone through.
Yeah, and then Saturday should be like, oh, what's going on with my plan, Tariq? No, don't do like that, please.
Okay, thanks very much for that. You will definitely reach out because, I mean, anything I plan doesn't really seems to go well.
I mean, it's soon it'll be meant to be. That's not. I'm getting it. Is it meant to be? Yeah. Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.